Thank you so much. The program is still this morning on ITV here. Now, we want to sincerely appreciate Comrade Jude Emagwe, former NANS president, and of course, former special advisor to former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan on youth. Comrade, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for waiting patiently. Now, we are looking at the 1st August planned hardship protest across the country. Various reactions and counter-reactions have been trailing the planned protest. Most of it all is the reaction that the police force, the Nigeria police force has made, thereby giving conditions on which they expect Nigerians to follow. Now, what are your immediate response to the Nigeria police force conditions given?
Well, the issue of police giving conditions to protest is not something that have just started yesterday. There have always been instances where they will come up with, for security reasons, you cannot do X, Y, Z. And when you ask them what that security reasons are, they will say for security reasons, that security reason cannot be divulged. And that is what it is. The police have always had the responsibility for the protection of lives and property, which includes the citizens' right to express themselves and citizens' right to take to the street. It's enshrined in our constitution, a right of freedom of expression. And also the extent to which the police will give the condition is to the extent at which they have information at their disposal on the nature of either protests or riots, as the case may have turned into, will be the shaping it will be taken, and the havoc, the hazard it will be, because they will put all indicators to check what it will be to public, what it will be to the average citizen too, that have a right to move on the day that the citizens want to also have a right to express themselves by way of protest. When they put all these indicators together, they weigh them. There are usual parameters and templates that are set up. The first is the fact that the police will want to also have an interaction with those that will be the conveners of the protest. There are also instances where they want them to have like signing of guarantee that everything is going to be peaceful and there will be no destruction of properties. And the third is where they will also have to be physically present to ensure that there are no intruders, no interference, or people not taking advantage of citizens' right of expression. So what they have just pronounced just now is not new, is not alien to us that are veterans in protest. And it is only now responsible of those that some of us and some of those that are part of the conveners, people that are willing to come out, to also weigh the pros and the cons, to know if what the police are requesting for is something that they can have their signatures appended to. If it's there's a second reflectivity thought in what the plans are, and that is on the part of the police.
All right. So now, do you really see these protests coming into realization? Because from the look of things, for the Nigeria Police Force to give these conditions, it appears that they are saying that it is only on this condition that they will protect the protesters. Because constitutionally, the police is by the constitution is supposed to protect the safety of protesters. So don't you think for the police force to give this condition, it shows that they may not be in support of the protest?
The police at all time will not be in support of any protest. Even if a protest that is going to be at their advantage, they will not support it. Because they also feel they have constitutional responsibility in the way of wanting to always serve the government in power. And that is why we still say we have problems and challenges with institutional freedom. If institutions are not liberated to act on their own independently, we always have instances like this. Now, my brother, I do not think the police will have the power to choose whether to protect or not to protect. The law is very clear about what their functions and responsibilities are: protection of life and property. The law did not say that you will choose who to protect and when to protect. That is not to say that they don't have a duty to, as a civic responsibility, to advise. If they come in the form of advice to say, comrades, brothers, sisters, conveners of the protest, we have seen that you want to actually come out lawfully to protest. But by the feelers, by some of the informations we have gathered through syndicating, we are afraid that your protests may be hijacked and it may not cause civic unrest. It may also not disrupt activities in the state, affect governance, affect other citizens' right of movement and freedom of also going for their lawful businesses. On the basis of this XYZ, we are advising you to take a back seat and prepare properly for another day. But my brother, to be very clear, all the indicators that should make citizens of any nation angry are already visible and available for us, ranging from policies to poor governance to scarcity of almost every commodities, hardship, insecurity, and the most difficult of it is hunger. And you know, hunger don't have brothers. Hungers cannot separate between a male and a female. And hunger do not say you are a Christian or you are a Muslim. When you are hungry, you are hungry. That is why they say an hungry man is an angry man. And so if we feel that Nigeria is ours, there is actually a need for people to express themselves. There's a need for us to say, no, enough is enough. But again, too, I also have my own advice as regards the present speculation of protest for the August 1st. I must commend those that have actually sat to nurse this idea and to drive it up until today as it is now. But again, I must also say, let us tread with caution. Caution in the sense that they say it is only a man that have not gone to war and know that war means death that hurries into war. We have gone into several protests yesterday. We have gone into good and bad of protests. So we know what protest is and some of its related consequences at the end of the day. I want to say clearly, my brother, that the window period and the conversations around what protest has generated has made it take a different and multiple dimension. Multiple dimension in the sense that protests are usually structured. That is the difference between protest and riot. Protest will tell you that we are protesting against the commissioner of police. We are protesting against the state government. We are protesting against our vice chancellor, rector, or provost. We are going to be meeting at point A, and our protest will be terminating at point B. At point B, we will be giving our communique and our demand to the authority that we desire to see and submit this proposal to. That is protest. Protest has leadership. Protest is defined. But in an instance where it goes beyond this, it becomes riot. Riot is not organized. Riot is not structured. And riot does not have leadership. That on its own is a problem, because in the state of riot, you cannot guarantee the safety of other citizens that are not participants. You cannot also guarantee the safety of lives and properties of the states or the local community. This is my fear. My fear is the fact that the conversation has degenerated so much that even if the organizers of the protest may want to be peaceful, to justify the reason why they have been calling them not to come out to protest, we know these things. People may be planted, they may be sponsored reprisals, they may be kangaroo people to come up to in defense of their own right to say they are in support of XYZ, while these people are against XYZ. It makes it chaotic. Secondly, the time frame is so long for agents of destruction to have also sat down to map out their own targets and aim. In the last 2 weeks, people that want to plot evil would have started to plot their evil to say on August 1st, when people are going to this place, they will be going to the other place. It is all going to be categorized as protest. I'll give you an example. Yesteryears in the University of Benin, we used to protest from Main Gate to Ring Road and from Ring Road back just to send a signal to every person resident in Benin that the University of Benin students have taken to the street. But in our own wisdom, at the end of every protest, several complaints come up. They'll say they have broken into people's stores, they've gone into people's shops, they've robbed people on the street, they've collected money, they've embarrassed people, destroyed vehicles, and all they'll tie it in the name of the University of Benin students. And we know truly these are not reflection of the University of Benin students that comes out to protest. People would have taken advantage of our presence in the street to perpetuate their own evil. So we narrowed our protest back. And we said, okay, if we want to protest, we protest at the front of our main gate. And if you observe in recent time, all protests of institutions have always been at their main gate. So that any man that is now in Ring Road, in bypass, perpetuating any evil, is not categorized as a University of Benin student. These are directions of protest. But for riot, you cannot guide. And so I want to also advise, as much as I always appeal to the police to be conscious of the kind of language they use in tension management, in protest management, and again, police and citizen relationship. The communication has always been a problem that have always triggered provocation to say, okay, let me see what you want to do, let's dare each other. I will say clearly, the idea of August 1st has received very visible reaction. Government at all levels have reacted to it. If is a time when we apply the 3 C's, which are consultation, consolidation before confrontation, I would say this brain of August 1st has yielded the respective consultative attention. Government at all levels have reacted. I want to appeal to our brothers then. Since agents of underworlds have already started threatening A and B, so that people don't unnecessarily get injured and the public is not exposed to things that are not theirs. Poor mothers of ours coming out to sell and people embarrassing them and stealing their things, breaking into shop of people that are struggling to make ends meet, cutting away their properties and the rest in the name of protest. Let them now resort to number C, number 2 of our C, which is now consolidation. In the midst of consolidation, since the government have reacted by saying that they have heard you loud and clear, let us now see the action that will follow the reaction they have taken. The actions now means that from the petroleum subsidy removal that you have guaranteed that will change ABC, if these changes are not reflectivity towards the economic situation in the countries, take us back to the bus stop you took us from. All these tariffs that you have moved front, back, and center, if they have not made any significant impact, take us back to where you have brought us from. And let us have robust stakeholders engagement in policies that you will be forming. When these policies are robustly discussed, all stakeholders have their input, they will own it. Once they own it, it becomes their own to see it implement and see it work. Then the third part of it, I feel again that something is being missing here, but people don't seem to want to address it. I want us to begin to address our protests as not protests against the federal government. It is the protest against our state governors and our local government representatives, either by chairmen, chairladies, the chairperson, councillors, and all the rest. Because you see, my brother, upon the removal of this subsidy, you are aware, I am aware, that the president, through the presidency, through the Minister of Finance, there has been a communication that they that used to get X now get X, Y, Z. It therefore means there is double of the revenue from federal allocations to state. And I have also not heard any state governor, as it is till this time, refuted the fact that they have not gotten this money. The question, therefore, we should ask ourselves, the developments in our respective states, are they commensurable or measured side by side with this money that have been tripled from the federation's account vis-a-vis the removal of subsidy? These are conversations we should be asking. Development is local as politics as it is local. I say clearly, and that is one part I will commend the president for granting this local government autonomy. Again, is to the extent at which the masters who have held them in captivity, which are our state governors, will be desirous of granting them their freedom. See, if our local governments have the capacity to operate effectively and serve without interference, and development starts from bottom, it is difficult to have citizens complain of hunger. But it is insulting for a government to relinquish resources at the federal, it gets to the state, is cornered, and the local government elected people are the mercies of their paymaster, who traditionally should not be their paymaster. These are part of the other leg of the conversations I think we need to be discussing. And so, my brother, whether Nigerians have a right to protest, yes. Whether all the indicators that should have provoked the mind of people to protest are visible and available, yes, they are. But whether we should now apply caution, yes, we should now apply caution. Okay. As the government, all level understood that people are angry, people are insecure, there is bitterness, there is hunger, and there is anger in the land, they have reacted to it. Let us see the action they want to take within the next 6 months calendar days, or within the 1 year. This government is just 1 year into office. Let's begin to look. And that is why sometimes I find it very irritating. I say the government that has enjoyed the most tolerating acceptance of the Nigerian citizens in this country is General Muhammadu Buhari, that served us for 8 years in absentee capacity, that has taken Nigeria 30 years backward, and I've always been shouting before that man left office. I say I do not fear him leaving office, but I'm sorry for the persons that we took over from him. Because what that man has actually done to this country, it will take years for anybody to drive Nigeria back to where Nigeria will begin to see its light again.
Anyway, that's maybe your own opinion about the former president. Some other persons may have it differently. Now, I know you would have also seen the breaking news that NANS has put out of August 1st nationwide demonstration. Now, this is your constituency. I mean, in the past, you were a NANS president. Well, not even in our widest imagination now that Nigerians would have thought that NANS, I mean an umbrella body for students, pulling out of the planned protest, Comrade Emagwe.
My brother Evans, thank you for that background comment. I do not think that NANS is, as a body, is an umbrella body, should have its own protest guided by an outsider. Whatever would have been responsible for them to make that assertion and directive may have been properly informed. A protest that is to be led by NANS will be led by NANS. NANS are not usually co-opted into protests. We define our protests, we design our protests, and we are usually given statutory responsibility by the Senate through a resolution of senators who are student union government president, directing the National Secretariat of NANS to marshal out action to engage the government either for bad governance, for corruption, and failure to live up to the expectation of the Nigerian people, particularly our constituency as it then was. Whatever therefore would have been responsible for why the leadership of the organization at this time would have called the students not to be part of it is a decision that is theirs. Because I remember truly too, yesterday as president of NANS, I had also made some decisions, taken some positions that didn't go down well with everybody. But the benefit of it at the end of the day was that for everyone to enjoy. The reasons, like example, was between the 2010 to the 2011, where I resolved as president of NANS to support President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan become president. I haven't reached an agreement with him, with the government then. I said clearly, the leadership of Labour goes to government to request for minimum wage. Other leadership of organization goes to request. If students will make a demand and the government gives us a listening ear, then we will also have a duty to support the government. Some of the demands we made there was need for a federal university in all the states of the Federation. I gave examples of why I wanted them because some of my findings and data show that a lot of people that graduated yesterday, back days, from the University of Benin, if you go to Delta, you find lots of them as graduates of University of Benin or University of Port Harcourt. In the same vein, if you go to people from Kogi, you find either a lot of them from the University of Jos or University ABU Zaria. reasons that the closest federal university to them then was either in Benin, in Rivers, in Zaria, or in Jos. But if every state has their own federal university, it expands and accommodates the number of brothers and sisters of ours that goes into JAM and comes out of it. The same way we requested for upgrading of some of these institutions, monotechnic and colleges of education to degree awarding. Immediately that was granted, I was left with no option than to throw the full weight of the organization to support the president then to become president. Now, for what it is today, the NANS as a body would have spoken, but again, it's still the responsibility of Nigerians who first are Nigerians before they are students. Now, it is either for them to not choose to be a student and respect the leadership of the student, or to be Nigerians and express their anger as Nigerians. But what the leadership have only done is that NANS should not be captured as part of those that will be in the protest. Reasons may be that they do not know, because it is still alleged that the protest is a faceless leadership protest. And I do not think that there should be any protest that is faceless. Every protest must have people that will take responsibility of the actions at the end of the day. And when it's faceless, it may degenerate into riot. Secondly, NAS would have also, in their own wisdom, vis-a-vis say if there should be protests, they should drive the protest that has to do with the welfare of students and our campuses. If they have not had opportunity to go through that school line to think of it and design way of how to execute it, they therefore cannot endanger our campuses into such instances.
Yeah, but Comrade, let me quickly interrupt you here because the way it looks now, I mean, NANS has always stood for the interest of Nigerians. I mean, one last hope that Nigerians have always had over the years when it comes to hardship in the country has been a NANS. Even the students, they are part of the hardship. I mean, as we speak now, University of Benin is closed down, is shut down because of issues that has to do with power. Before this time, we also saw issues that has to do with heightened school fees and all that. So for NANS to be backing out of these planned protests at this time, don't you think the whole idea of even conceiving the protest is dead on arrival?
The protest is dead on arrival because the protest was not initially initiated by NAS. NAS are not the initiators of the protest. So those that have initiated the protest have their own methodology on how they want to prosecute and execute the protest. Secondly, if I made a statement initially, I said NAS as a body would have taken a position. But again, it is now left for citizens, who some too are still students. Now, first, you are a citizen before you are a student. You are not an alien person to a country, so you have the right of a citizenship to a country before you become a student of our tertiary institution. Now, if your umbrella body have said you cannot protest, and you as a citizen feels that you are aggrieved, you are bitter, you are pained because of the high level of corruption that has characterized this just government and the one that left to General Buhari, because of the level of hunger, the hardship, the insecurity, the policy somersaulting and inconsistency in the policy, you say you want to protest. You have a duty as a citizen to take to the street to protest, but you are not going out as NANS. You are going as a citizen. Now, so if you say there are also issues at the University of Benin that have led to closure, it is the local union that has a duty to engage the management. Now, you see what I'm saying about protest and riot. Protest has leadership and has direction. Riots usually do not have leaders. Number two, protests are coordinated. Riots are destructive. Now, if you say the institution has one problem of power or water, which we would not have tolerated in our time as students leaders, it is the duty of the local union to engage the management through the office of the Dean of Students Affairs. And if there is resistance in yielding to their demands, then they will take a line of action through a resolution of the Student Union Government Parliament, directing the executive of the government to take a maximum musheshe to ensure that no management staff leaves the university until that issue is resolved and solution is provided. That is protest, structured and defined. Now, if NANS says, the president of NANS, I have not asked him why they pulled out. I have not called him. I'm just back to the country. But NANS would have had a reason on their own to say, we were not in the planning of this protest. Our organization cannot be part of it. they will not be faulted for that. Number two, the reasons and the channels upon which this protest the dimension it wants to take, we feel it may impose threats in the life of some of our students that will be taken to the streets. The leadership of NANS has a duty to protect students too. Number three, will this give us the needed attention, or should we now adopt the second C in our protest charter, Mr. Evans? We have 3 C's categorized before we go into action and declaring total musheshe. The first is usually consultation, which is the first C. And that is what I have said. Those that have been involved in this August 1st protest have achieved the first C. You must give them that credit. Everybody has reacted to their plans. It means the actions, the demands, their grievances has now been heard loud and clear. The second C is if there is a failure in the actualization of the first C, which is consultation, we will now need to consolidate our sister bodies, those that are sympathizers of the positions we have taken. People have agreed that there is hunger. People have agreed that there is corruption. People have agreed that there is bitterness. People have agreed that this government has policies that are back and front, People have seen that so many things are wrong. Now, what is now left is for the government to begin to take actions to the reactions they have created. In doing this, the second C will now be strengthened, which is consultation, where the conveners of this thing needs to begin to meet bodies like NANS, National Youth Council of Nigeria, to say, my brothers, you pulled that probably because we've not engaged ourselves properly, robustly. This is the reason why we have taken this action. Excuse me. If government now fails to take action to the reaction they have melted, after this second C, what do? Then we confront. And usually in protest, we don't give this long, wide period of time to actualize protest, because if you give this long, wide period of time, my brother, government on their own, in their own wisdom, I will tell you without pretense, if government is not sensitive enough, government will raise people that will counter the people that will come to the street and make it destructive, so that they justify the reason why they have initially asked you not to go to the street. NANS will not want that to happen to their students. Again, my brother, what we usually do, we say we are giving a government 72 hours. I think that is the maximum we can give to any government, 72 hours. At the expiration of our 72 hours, we already communicate to you that this is what we want to do. Once 72 hours expires, you are not calling us for any conversation again. Within that 72 hours, the other C's are open for us to consult and to consolidate. If you meet us at our point of demands, we call off the strike, the protest. But if you do not meet us, at the expiration of 72 hours, our field marshals are already out there, designated locations on where they can start and how the protest can be terminated. And it has always been peaceful, processed, and with leadership. And so if the leadership of NANS says probably they are not part of this discussion, I do not think that the leadership of NANS would have erred by saying that we do not know the plans, we have not followed these meetings, we cannot be co-opted, or my organization cannot be used. But again, the leadership of NANS would have said that as leaders. Again, it still will not infringe on the right of citizens who also are students. So now what they need to do to express themselves no longer as NANS, but as citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We are hungry, we are angered, there's high level of inconsistency in government policy, there's corruption, and there's failure in governance. So we are taken to the street, no longer as NANS, but as students. And that stands.
Okay. All right. So, Comrade Jude, as we wrap up now, what would you want to say about the individualistic nature that the protest seems to have taken now? What I mean by individualistic nature, if you go through the social media, you would have seen videos of some individual Nigerians, doing the protest themselves. So it looks as if they are already envisaging that there's not going to be a mass protest after all.
I do not think they are envisaging that there's not going to be mass protests. But I only think that, see, my brother, the expression and the reaction is like beating a child and dictating for the child how the child is going to cry. If you beat a child, all you need to do is to allow the child to express himself through crying, and afterwards you give the child the reason why you or she has been beaten up. People now may begin to express themselves across boards and across states and regions and states. Now, it does not take away the fact that the conveners of these things have not achieved anything. They have achieved greatly, and I give them credit to it. Where we have now found ourselves is everybody now begin to express themselves individually. And while you are expressing yourself individually to the police and the security authorities have a duty to ensure that you are not harassed, you are not embarrassed, or you are not victimized or attacked on the street. That is on one leg of it. The second leg of it is, I feel, my brother Evans, the exposure of the window period between when this protest was conceived and when it's to take its implementation
It's too long.
is sufficient enough for people to make every negative plans to frustrate the protest itself or to interfere in the protest by way of raising counters and intruders into the protest.
Yeah, quickly now. Yeah, you have 1 more minute, quickly. Sorry for that.
This is my fear. So I feel that, yes, you will find people across states expressing themselves. There is hunger in the land, and there is still high-handedness in this government in the land. So people will obviously express themselves across states. They have a right and a duty. And I'm begging the Inspector General of Police, everywhere you see citizens express themselves, even if it doesn't degenerate to the protest as it was anticipated, still give these citizens protection so that at the end of the day, this government will not be perceived as a government that is intolerable, a government that do not accept citizens to express themselves, a government that is resistive to citizens' expression, whom we can clearly state, like Senator Shehu Sani said, the President of the Federal Republic of today should be referred to as the grandfather of protest. But when you say somebody is referred to as the grandfather of protest, it means he showed himself as the person that was leading the protest then. So the fear he entertains today is that nobody is coming to take responsibility of saying, I want to lead the protest.
Okay.
That is only the fear.
All right, so we want to say a big thank you, Comrade Jude Emagwe, former president of NAS, and also former advisor to Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, former president on youth. So I want to say a very big thank you for your time. Despite a very tight schedule, you still had time to join us. So thank you so much, Comrade Jude Emagwe.
Thank you for having me, Evans. And may God continue to bless Nigeria. I appeal to Nigeria to continue to keep faith in Project Nigeria.
Okay. All right. So this is where we also bet the program today. This morning on ITV, on independent television. We are also appealing for understanding, calling on Nigerians. The best way to actually go out of this is for us all to understand the situation. Let the government also understand with the citizens, and also the citizens too should understand with the government, because it is one nation that we have. There's no doubt about that. So we must salvage our country. Well, it's the show today. My name is Evans Onokuge.